Welcome back to Dork Points, everybody. This is Ron, and tonight we are talking about all the games that are going to be leaving PS Extra, the PS Extra catalog, in the month of February. Not sure of the exact date. All right, let's start it off with Tekken 7. Now, a couple videos back, I mentioned how disappointed I was in Street Fighter V, and if you look at this game and play this game, you can see what that game was missing. And as dumb as I think these games are, there's a charm to them. And this is what Street Fighter V just didn't have. And I've heard Street Fighter 6 is great, but yeah, as much as I don't particularly care to play these games, and I'm not that into them, this has that charm that I was trying to explain in the other video, but I don't know if I explained it right. But this has that charm, that old school, wonderful flavor that Street Fighter V simply didn't have. So enjoyable in that way, yeah. Tekken 7, leaving in February. Okay, now let's talk about, and here's another one we've mentioned, so I'm going to keep this short. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I mentioned this in the Resident Evil demos when I played all the Resident Evil demos. It's freaky. It's pretty freaky, and but I tell you, this is just not my style of horror. But that was scary. Yeah, that mannequin wasn't there before. But yeah, this I don't know, torture porn, weird horror, just not my thing. All right, Tacoma. Now this is the game I will be playing before it leaves. I cannot wait to play this. It looks like the perfect combination of Deliver Us the Moon and State of Mind.
Remember that all activity on this facility is monitored by AR recording. All activity records become sole property of the Venturas Corporation.
I love that voice.
Any questions about privacy or personal privacy should be sent to
So cool. But yeah, it looks like a perfect mix of Deliver Us the Moon and State of Mind, where you're going through the station and you're trying to find out what happened to the people, and you're using basically old logs, and you're looking at them. The reason I even bring up State of Mind, I know probably no one out there has even played that game, but as you look through the footage and the playbacks, there are missing pieces, and so you have to decode these different pieces in order to help the story, or to clarify the story, and that's one cool thing that State of Mind did that I really appreciate, and you don't see in many other games. So can't wait to play this. I just started it up, but this is the game I will be playing until it leaves in February. Alright, now moving on to Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown. This was okay. One level was enough for me, or two levels, whatever it was, but it's a lot more arcadey than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be more of a simulator. You're in a MiG-21, which I believe is a real plane, but the story itself and the world itself is totally fictional and is very clearly based on Orwell's 1984, because you have Oshia and Eurasia, it's just like Oceania and East Eurasia, but different names, slightly different names. And there's this escalating war, and I hate to say it, it's just not that interesting. Give me straight gameplay, make it maybe more simulator-like, or even more arcadey, lean into that a little more, but it's right in that middle spot, and that is just not a sweet spot. Sorry. Alright, Onanaki! And now the next three games, they're all from Tokyo RPG Company, or RPG Factory. It used to be called the Tokyo Dream Factory. Now the guy who started this is now the president of Square Enix. So these are under the Square Enix banner as well. This first one, Onanaki, the story is very interesting, and I don't mind the fighting at all. Or I don't mind the fighting. It's actually kind of fun, but really no interest in pursuing this any further than just checking it out, dipping my toe in. Now, Lost Fear, also from Tokyo RPG Factory. This one just seems silly and dumb. Look, your king turns into a robot for some reason and fights another robot at the beginning of the game. It does have a quality after this of, it reminds me of a very polished version of Final Fantasy 1. I think it's a love letter to Final Fantasy 1. But all three of these games, including the next one, I Am Setsuna, they kind of remind me of Bandai Namco. They all have like pretty interesting background stories, and then they switch up the play a little bit, but they all feel similar. And a lot of the Bandai Namco games, there's some great ones out there, but a lot of them have a similar feel or look. I don't know how to explain it, but this one is turn-based, which I don't love, and it's more strategic. Not totally XCOM, but closer to that than the other two games. But again, as well made as it looks to be, this is just not my thing. So I say pass on all three of those. All right, now Thomas Was Alone. I had no idea what I was getting into with this one, but it turns out it's just a simple kind of puzzle solver game. There's some story there, as you see on the left-hand side, that maybe tells something deeper. And you know, a lot of puzzle games try to do that, like Perfect Angle. They throw in this deeper meaning to the story, and I don't really care. Not unless you're making a game like Portal. I just don't care anymore. It's you know, this is what it is. It's a simple game, and obviously, like I've said a million times, it's going to get harder and harder, and they start throwing, like, multiple cubes at you, and you got to use them together, and again, not my thing, but it plays well, it feels well, but yeah, don't care about the story, and I know it's just going to get to that point where it becomes a little too hard for me. Cool thought, though. Alright, moving on to Hue. Now, speaking of cool thoughts and cool ideas, this game's got a great look to it. God, what does it remind me of? Kind of like Inside at first, with the black and white, but much more family-friendly, much more kid-friendly. And it turns out, in the end, to be a color-based puzzle solver. So you get more and more colors, and the puzzles get more and more complicated, and you're just pushing yourself through the levels. However, and it's really good. I'll say that first before I do the however. But however, after I say it's good. However, as you add more colors and it gets more complicated, you kind of feel lost, and the game gets really mazy, and almost reminds me of Minute, where you're running around going, where do I go? I don't know. Alright, and our last game of the night, Lost Words Beyond the Page. Now, when I started this thing up, this was the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the game, was running across the pages of a notebook, and I thought, oh wow, this is real different. This is really cool. And I was just, like, floored. And then it gets into the actual game, which is this. Kind of your basic side-scrolling game. Now, you have a little helpful sprite there, and he can move things and move words around in the game itself, but this is more of what the game is. And I don't know what the developers were thinking. I mean, when they were making this, did no one on the team stop and say, wait a second, why don't we just make a game like this? Now, this is teaching you how to do things in the game. Like here, you open up your book, you have the word rise, and you can make that item rise to get through it. But what an amazing concept, and they turned it into kind of just a puzzle solver, basic side scroller. And you had this. Why not just this game, people? Please. Anyway, this is the end result. I don't hate it, but wow, I was blown away for a second, and then it just became this. So there you go. Anyways, those are all the games that are leaving in February. I hope you enjoyed it, and good night.